First Class Productions.
After the Angel of Darkness in 2003, the Tomb Raider franchise was hanging by a thread. Core Design, the very studio that created Lara Croft, got the boot, and the series was handed over to Crystal Dynamics, a studio best known for Gex and the Legacy of Kain series. A weird resume for someone now responsible for gaming's most famous archaeologist. I still remember the exact moment I found out about Tomb Raider Legend. I was visiting my dad when a preview suddenly popped up on Swedish television, and we just sat there, stunned. Lara Croft was back, looking like she actually belonged in the mid-2000s. The hype was real. When Legend launched in 2006, it was everywhere. PS2, Xbox, 360, GameCube, PC, and even the PSP. Because apparently they wanted to make sure nobody could not play this game. There were even completely different versions made for Game Boy Advance and Nintendo DS. And don't worry, those handheld oddities will get their own video down the line. I played the PC demo on loop before release, memorizing every jump, every enemy encounter, every boulder that dared roll in my direction. So when the full game finally dropped, I didn't hesitate, bought it instantly on PS2 and fell head over heels for it. It revitalized my fascination with the franchise, and I showed it to all my friends who probably didn't ask for it but got the full Lara Croft sales pitch anyway. Years later, I picked up the Tomb Raider Trilogy HD collection on PS3, but somehow only ended up playing Anniversary. Don't ask me why, I wish I knew. But thanks to my VIP patrons who voted on which version I should focus on, I'm finally playing Legend in HD for the very first time. That's the version I'll be covering here, though I'll also touch on the PS2 and PSP ports. I haven't beaten this game since 2007, so I'm beyond excited to finally dive back in. The only question is, does Legend still hold up? Join me as I replay the game that changed the direction of Tomb Raider for years to come.
GFrom, the gamer, the legend, he's come to show you the way in this world of games. GFrom Reviews.
Before setting off on the grand adventure, I did what every self-respecting Tomb Raider fan does first. I went straight to Croft Manor. It's tradition, and at first glance, it's everything you'd hope for. Big and full of mysterious doors that practically dare you to explore them. The problem is, you can't actually do anything yet. Every door is locked tighter than a relic vault, and the only thing you can interact with is the overwhelming sense of disappointment. So all that's left is pacing around the lobby, admiring the architecture, and staring at Winston, who, I'm happy to report, escaped the freezer. He's also aged in reverse apparently. No more trembling hands, no tea tray, no coughing fits. Just a surprisingly spry version of Lara's butler, standing around like he's waiting for me to stop loitering and get on with the actual game. There are 3 difficulty options: Explorer, Adventure, and Tomb Raider. I picked the hard difficulty, which makes enemies inflict more and receive less damage. Also, ammo drops are rarer. So what's Tomb Raider Legend actually about? Well, that depends who you ask. If you ask Core Design, wait, you can't, they were fired. Crystal Dynamics basically hit the reset button. The game acknowledges Lara's past, but it's a soft reboot. Think of it as, yes, Lara Croft is still an acrobatic adventurer who raids tombs, but let's not dwell on those 6 games where she fought dinosaurs, demons, and Parisian cops. The story kicks off with a flashback. Lara's just a child flying with her mother across the Himalayas when their small plane runs into trouble and crashes in the mountains. Fast forward and we're in Bolivia, with Lara climbing cliffs like it's just another Tuesday. She's in constant radio contact with her associates, Zip and Alistair. The same Zip from Chronicles? If so, neat. Apparently he moved into Lara's basement and now works tech support. Alistair is the academic half of the duo. Basically Lara's personal encyclopedia who quotes history at her while she's dangling over spike pits. Together, they form Crystal Dynamics' idea of a Greek chorus. Always talking, occasionally helpful, and sometimes just there. You'll be hearing from them all game long, and I might have some thoughts about that later.
My dissertation will never see daylight at this rate, but never mind that. What are you doing in Bolivia?
The opening cutscene wastes no time showing off Lara's superhuman upper body strength with a jump that would liquefy most people's skeletons. And then it's time to actually play. Right away, I need to point something out. Lara's character model looks incredible. Elegant, expressive, and easily the most stunning version of her up to that point. Plus, no awkward camera fade-outs when she gets too close. She's gloriously, permanently visible. Immediately, the controls feel like night and day compared to the old games. Gone are the tank controls of the PS PS1 era and the unholy mess that was the Angel of Darkness. You've now got smooth analog freedom. It's like someone finally oiled the gears after a decade of rust. Instead of classic secrets, the game now has bronze, silver and gold relics. Bronze is usually on the beaten path, silver makes you work for it, and gold is the one big brain teaser per level. Collecting them unlocks goodies I'll talk about later. With triangle you can kick things like this rock. Riveting. Swimming's had an upgrade too, now using separate buttons for diving and surfacing instead of the old square plus D-pad shuffle.
Honestly, I kinda miss the simplicity of the old system, but I'll adapt.
The new PDA serves as your map, objective log, and glorified gear menu. Block puzzles make a return, but this time they're less like dragging a fridge through cement. Lara's far more acrobatic. She can grab vines, hop between them, and swing on ropes with far less frustration than in the Von Croy days. And speaking of upgrades, even the flares have evolved. Now she's got a personal light source, or PLS.
Oh, you mean a flashlight?
It drains power but recharges quickly enough to never be annoying. Platforming feels silky smooth now. Lara automatically grabs ledges. It feels almost magnetic, like the level geometry is pulling her in. It's less about rigid precision and more about flow, and for Legend, that's exactly what the series needed. She can also shimmy faster by tapping triangle, which is great when the alternative is watching her inch along like she's on strike. Within 3 minutes, I was already sold on the improvements. Oh no, a rolling boulder! Classic. Always a good sign when the game starts trying to kill you with nostalgia. Pole swinging makes a comeback from Chronicles, but this time you can actually adjust direction, making it far more flexible. Soon after, you meet your first mercenary. Combat's gotten an overhaul. Lock on with L1, shoot with R1. It completely changes how firefights feel. Bolivia also showcases Legend's obsession with physics puzzles. You'll push a rock onto a fallen tree to use it as a makeshift swing. Later, you use the brand new magnetic grapple to rip a decorative disc off a temple doorway. The grapple is a fantastic addition. You can swing with it, pull objects, grab distant relics, and even use it in combat in some situations, which I completely forgot about and never used in this playthrough. Enemies occasionally chat before noticing you, giving you the choice to eavesdrop or interrupt their philosophical discussion with their death. Then comes the first big firefight. You can even use the environment to your advantage, shooting at loose boulders for a smashing surprise. I took some damage here, and just by pressing up on the D-pad, Lara uses a health pack. These drop occasionally, but Lara can only carry 3 at a time. Same with weapons, pistols are forever, but you only get 1 extra slot for a rifle, shotgun, SMG or whatever.
Is she using a different backpack now or what?
Yeah, so there's no inventory anymore, just the 4 options displayed in the bottom left corner of the screen. It's restrictive but keeps the pace moving, especially since pickups are automatic. Though I do kinda miss hoarding absurd amounts of medkits just in case. One underrated addition is the binoculars. They sound boring, but flip them into rad mode and they become a genuine game changer. They highlight everything interactive, basically detective vision before Arkham Asylum made it cool. Inside, you swing across spike pits and climb vertical chains, which introduces a quirk of Lara's jumping system. Press jump without holding a direction and Lara will leap backward. Hold forward and she jumps whichever way the camera faces. It's weird at first, but it quickly becomes second nature. A short swim later and you're fighting the first animal of the game, a jaguar. There aren't many animal encounters in Legend, and I appreciate that Lara doesn't exactly cheer about shooting one.
And a pity.
Small steps. The temple is full of traps. Pounding blocks make a return, but with a twist. The first is basic timing, but the second makes you push a cage between them. For once, this is a block puzzle that actually feels clever instead of tedious. Even when I was completely safe, I still felt the tension of depending on this flimsy cage to not collapse on me. Then comes a room I remember vividly thanks to the PC demo. 3 pressure pads, 3 movable cages. The first one is up here, but the other 2 are in the area below. How are you supposed to get them up? Well, as a matter of fact, you only need 1 of them. Push it onto the seesaw and jump on the other end. Physics, baby. On the last pad, Lara's own weight does the job.
But before you do that, let me share a secret with you.
How to get the gold. Roll over the pressure pad without standing on it, trigger the cutscene, then hop back long enough for the door to half open. Make your way over there, and if you did it correctly, you should be able to grab onto it. Climb up and bam, there's your gold reward. If this doesn't work for you, don't blame me and check out Stella's guide. After that, Legend drops you into one of the most mid-2000s features imaginable, QuickTime events. I don't hate them and I never failed one, but let's be honest, nobody's cheering for them either. They at least add some cinematic flair without stealing control away for too long. The final puzzle in Bolivia looks intimidating. Racks that rotate 90 degrees when you jump to them, but it's easier than it appears.
This appears
As a non-native speaker, that just sounds funny to me.
Literature.
Literature. Could be a Spanish dance. Literature.
After that, you're rewarded with another flashback. Miraculously, she and her mother survived the plane crash. Young Lara does what she'll spend the rest of her life doing. She starts poking at ancient artifacts. Unfortunately, this particular one happens to be a massive stone sword mechanism, and activating it doesn't just make the ruins glow. It opens some kind of portal, and in an instant, her mother Amelia is sucked into it and vanishes without a trace. For Lara, it's more than just a childhood trauma. It's the event that shapes her entire destiny. From this point on, she's obsessed with uncovering the truth about her mother, with solving the mystery of the sword, and with chasing down every legend that might connect back to that single moment in the Himalayas. Then we meet a textbook-rich douchebag who has a piece of the sword.
Amanda said you were sloppy.
Who's Amanda? We switch back to gameplay, where admittedly, the first time I played, I didn't realize I was supposed to move. But now I know the rule. If a blue Lara symbol pops up, it means run despite the awkward camera position. After one last shootout, Bolivia wraps up. This is a great first level. It does a fantastic job of teaching the mechanics without stopping gameplay and nagging at me constantly. It's a great display of the game's artwork with both beautiful outside spectacle and a gloomy indoor temple. I'm pumped for the rest of the game. Now Croft Manor finally opens up, a full-on puzzle playground that quietly tests everything the game has taught you so far. Jumping, climbing, shimmying, swimming, and of course that glorious magnetic grapple. Every move in Lara's new repertoire gets put to work, but it never feels like busy work. Instead, it feels like you're exploring a proper mini-tomb cleverly hidden behind British luxury. It all begins in Zip's tech center, where you open a wall safe to retrieve the magnetic grapple. From there, the mansion turns into a massive toy box of secrets. In Lara's bedroom, two dagger-shaped switches reveal her pistol stashed behind the Medusa plaque, because of course that's where she keeps her bedside essentials. Meanwhile, the study hides the PLS, and solving a puzzle sends you into a dark service passage where you find your first etched clue. That's when the treasure hunt begins. The riddles are surprisingly clever. One of them, hinting at twin sisters above the waters, leads you to the pool, where you rotate spear-wielding statues to uncover a hidden switch and another inscription. Up on the balcony you can also grab the binoculars, but only after using the grapple to manipulate the statues. Back in the library, a colored book puzzle, blue, yellow, green, red, opens another secret, pushing the scavenger hunt further. Then comes the big finale in the main hall. The place suddenly transforms into a vertical obstacle course, complete with grapple points and timed switches. Pull it off correctly and a statue of Athena rises majestically from the floor. Rotate her to face the sun symbol, step onto the pressure plate, and the pedestal with the gold reward emerges. One final bar swing later and the treasure is yours. It feels less like a tutorial and more like the manor itself is a proper tomb. And don't skip the gym. It's an obstacle course where you can rearrange the equipment with your grapple to build your own climbing path. It's tricky, but that's the point. It's where you test timing, precision, and how well you understand the tools the game just gave you. There's one jump that gave me hell though, showing that Lara's magnetic hands don't always do what you want them to do. Lara, come on! What makes this iteration of Croft Manor so special is how cohesive it feels. Every room, every puzzle, every little clue is tied together in a way that perfectly encapsulates the spirit of legend. In a game that's all about rediscovering what makes Tomb Raider fun, Lara's own house ends up being one of the best introductions. Oh, and collecting all those relics finally pays off. Our first pistol upgrade, increased magazine size. Not exactly a legendary artifact, but when you're Lara Croft, even self-improvement comes with firepower. After Bolivia, Lara heads back to Croft Manor for a debrief. Zip identifies the smug guy we just met as James Rutland, the son of a US senator and proud owner of the world's most punchable face. Winston greets Lara as she arrives home, and she wastes no time showing the team the artifact Rutland was carrying. It looks eerily similar to something she once saw in Nepal, which raises the possibility that it's part of a larger sword. Meanwhile, Zip is tasked with digging up info on Rutland, who was overheard mentioning Paraíso in Peru. Lara instructs him to call Anaya, an old friend, to meet her there, while Alistair nervously pries about Amanda, hinting at a story Lara doesn't want to tell just yet. When Lara arrives in Peru, the locals respond by locking their windows.
Can't imagine why.
There's a sparring dummy standing around, but more importantly, I spot a football on the ground. And look, I can't not kick it. Go! goal! I see potential here. If Mega Man can have his own football game, why not Lara Croft's Championship League? I'd play it. Moments later, she meets her friend Anaya, but before they can even exchange pleasantries, mercenaries crash the reunion. After fighting through a few skirmishes, Lara stumbles across a motorcycle, and that's when the level quite literally shifts gears. Vehicle sections in Tomb Raider have historically ranked from awkward novelty to existential suffering, but this is actually great. It's a full throttle chase down a narrow mountain road filled with ramps, explosions, and enemies on bikes trying to shoot you off the cliff. Thankfully, she's effortlessly wielding her pistol while steering one-handed because she's Lara Croft. Lock on, swap targets with L1, spray and pray. It's simple, but it feels great. Health packs are scattered along the road, so the difficulty stays fair. Ooh, sorry Lara. Got too excited there for a moment. Yeah, so this was my first death, but Legend introduces something new to the series. Instead of repeating half the level, you just pick up close to where you left off. Revolutionary. The sense of momentum is fantastic. The burning bridge set piece cranks the adrenaline, and crates flying off trucks keep things lively. The chase ends with Lara pulling off one of the most badass stunts in her entire career. The kind of iconic Lara moment that would have been plastered on magazine covers in 2006. Love everything about it. After that thrill ride, Lara and Anaya arrive at the ruins where Amanda supposedly died. Cue flashback. Young Lara explores the site with Amanda and her excavation team. Hey, the classic outfit!
Nice.
So you actually get to play this scene. Instead of a flashlight, she's using flares. Infinitely throwable, but only 2 stay lit at a time. Toss a third and the first one quietly fades out. A clever trick that keeps the atmosphere moody while never leaving you completely in the dark. Of course, it all goes horribly wrong. Characters like Eva and Sarah die almost instantly. Names we barely know, but still, RIP. But someone is alive, and even after all these years, I still remember his name. Why? Because of this scene.
Wait! Kent!
The way Lara yells
Kent!
with such dramatic force is forever engraved into my memory. Sadly,
Kent!
doesn't make it either, because a giant monster appears. What even is that thing? Suddenly, we're looking through its eyes and, oh right, time to run. Escaped. For now. But now it's after Amanda. So much stress. Eventually they regroup and brandish a mysterious stone. The ruins collapse, her foot gets trapped, and despite Lara's desperate effort to save her, Amanda is left behind. Tragic. The flashback is a great little sequence. Mild pressure pad puzzles, frantic escapes, and a tragic finale that will matter later. Back in the present, Lara insists on heading deeper into the ruins while Anaya wisely decides to stay out of it. The next area revolves around draining a submerged chamber by activating 4 glowing blue switches. It's technically a timed puzzle, but so lenient it might as well not be. When Lara pauses to read the inscription of the last queen of Tiwanaku, it gives me TR1 vibes.
But she was lost and raised by a warrior.
Stopping mid-adventure to translate ancient text, it's pure Croft.
Look over us kindly to Hoken.
A quiet little breather before the next challenge. After a super exciting QuickTime event comes one of Legend's standout puzzles. 3 stone spheres, 3 pressure pads, and 2 missing balls to find. It's simple, tactile, and deeply satisfying in that kind of way. Solving it unveils a giant statue of the queen holding what turns out to be a ceremonial copy of the sword fragment. Still, Lara recognizes the design from something she once saw in Japan, which neatly sets up the next destination. How to get to the gold. On your way back, ignore the obvious path. Climb the vine and swing to the left ledge instead. Roll down the hidden stone sphere and place it on the center pad. Voila! Shiny gold reward. The rest of the level you're just fighting your way back through a bunch of goons, all while using some shortcuts to get back to Anaya faster. Peru is a near perfect example of pacing done right. From the shootout at the start to the high-speed motorcycle chase to the flashback sequence in ancient ruins full of clever puzzles, it just never gets boring. Every section feels distinct, every moment purposeful. It's a constant shift between action, atmosphere, and brain teasers, and that mix is exactly what makes Tomb Raider tick. So now we're in Japan and holy smokes! That outfit! Absolute chef's kiss.
Let's just say teenage me was not emotionally prepared for this moment.
Is this the sexiest Lara has ever looked? She's effortlessly glamorous, walking through a skyscraper penthouse full of awkwardly dancing rich people who all look like they're waiting for someone else to start the party. You make your way to the bartender who grants you access to Nishimura's office.
とても楽しんでいます、西村さん。
He's an old acquaintance of Lara's, and for about 5 seconds beginnings, things are civil until Takamoto, a Yakuza boss with a suspicious lack of chill, shows up. Lara thinks he has a sword fragment, he denies it, and seconds later, the place turns into a bullet buffet. And sorry, one last time, that outfit!
Perfection.
After the shootout, you take an elevator up to the roof, where the Tokyo skyline stretches out in all its neon glory. At the time, this view absolutely floored me, and even today, it's stunning. Then Lara hops on another motorbike, but this one's a tease. You expect open driving, but all you get is a short ride around the corner before a QTE hijacks the controls. What was the plan here, Lara? Drive full speed into the unknown and hope for the best? The construction site that follows is a great playground. Manual aiming comes in handy here. You can shoot shiny rings to make this window drop. The grapple also gets plenty of spotlight, letting you swing hanging platforms. And yes, because it wouldn't be Tomb Raider without it, we're killing dogs again. That's just how this series rolls. Back in the office, I remember getting stuck here as a teenager. The trick is to shoot the rings holding up the massive screen and then pull it down with the grapple. Simple once you know it, infuriating when you don't. I also love how Lara refuses to open cabinets like a normal person. She just kicks them open with the energy of someone who's late for work and can't find their car keys. I'll take that over the endless animations from Chronicles any day. The neon signs buzzing outside were so realistic, I thought my subwoofers were breaking. Combine that with the dizzying high wire platform section and the whole level just oozes atmosphere. That view still gets me. It's important to stretch every now and then. Back inside you check out the security cameras. I don't really see the point, but at least you can actually see anything. Right, AOD? A turret blocks the path, so you roll a giant ball across the floor to shield yourself. There's also a fire alarm that triggers sprinklers so you can see laser tripwires, but I completely ignored it. Sorry bro. This was the only time in my whole playthrough that I actually died from bullets. Later, Lara uses her grapple to swing a giant dragon statue straight through a window. If that's not stylish problem solving, I don't know what is.
How to get the gold?
Just move the nearby chest around the corner, shove it down, and the shiny reward is yours. Easy. Then comes the first real boss fight, Takamoto himself. Suddenly it makes sense why he doesn't want to part with that sword fragment. The arena is full of turrets, but if you climb up to his platform right away, it's a clean duel. Dodge his energy blasts, keep firing, and he goes down faster than expected. Way easier than I remembered. Afterward, Nishimura swaps in via helicopter to extract Lara, and it's on to the next destination, Ghana.
Not gonna lie, this is a fantastic level. I would even go as far as calling it my favorite.
There's just something about the setting that intrigues me. It has some really thrilling platforming and what I consider to be Lara's most exquisite outfit. Back then, this was the level I showed to friends when I wanted to prove how cool Tomb Raider could be again. And to this day, I stand by that decision. The whole thing plays like a Bond movie filtered through Lara Croft's world. It's confident, stylish, and endlessly replayable. And as a bonus for my inner collector, grabbing all those relics earned me my second pistol upgrade. Increased accuracy. Not that Lara needed it, she's already unstoppable. The next level is sometimes called Ghana, sometimes West Africa.
I'll stick with Ghana if that's okay with you fine people.
It opens with what might be the most jaw-dropping set piece of the entire game. That waterfall. It's enormous. Roaring and swan diving off it is a liberating feeling. You even get to pull a mechanism that opens a hidden path behind the waterfall. Classic Tomb Raider energy. You can practically hear core design nodding in approval somewhere. We get another smug little chat with Rutland, whose ego has clearly reached boss fight levels. Inside the ruins, the traps don't seem to work, but mercenaries are everywhere. This is also where grenades start to actually matter. Ignore them and you'll quickly learn how fragile Lara is when one rolls politely to her feet before blowing her into confetti. What follows is one of Legend's most elaborate puzzle sequences, centered around two massive water wheels. The first is jammed by stone columns, so Lara does what any professional explorer would do. Climbs into a mounted turret and obliterates them. Subtle, Lara. The second wheel is stuck because the water isn't flowing, and fixing that takes you into an enormous chamber packed with moving parts. There are two suspended stone blocks linked by chains. Stand on one and the other rises. Simple in concept, impressive in scale. Then you ferry yourself across on a raft, climb up and reach a mechanism with pressure pads and rotating ledges. One pad gets a block, the other needs Lara's own weight, which means you've got seconds to dash to the center and yank the sun symbol out of the statue. It's not difficult, but the timing and presentation make it feel risky. risky, like you're one slip away from plummeting. With the water restored, the traps kick back on and suddenly the deadly ruins feel properly alive again. From here the hazards escalate. Swinging blades and the obligatory chase sequence.
Oh, hell no!
Run, Lara, run! Breaking back into the open air, the platforming is fantastic. Fast, vertical, and demanding just enough reflexes to keep you sharp. Losing radio contact with Zip and Alistair here actually helps.
Silence is golden sometimes.
In the depths, Lara finds a brooch once owned by her mother, gifted by her father, just lying on the floor, untouched by mercenaries.
Convenient.
The atmosphere gets darker and moodier, with spike pits in the shadows lit only by your PLS. For the first time, I actually found myself relying on grenades. They're a bit clumsy to aim, but effective. Two suspicious staircases bring back even more rolling boulders. Predictable, but fun. How to get the gold. There's a pressure pad that opens a door in front of you, but also secretly opens one below the stairs. Sprint down fast and you'll snag your shiny golden reward. Behind the main door waits Rutland, juiced up on sword fragment steroids. It was his grenades that got me, not his magic sparkly powers. Blast him with everything you've got, but keep in mind that he heals himself on the ledges. When he does that, shoot the red crystals under the ledges he's standing on, then grapple and pull to send him crashing down. Repeat until he stops being a problem. I only needed to collapse 3 ledges, though grenades can speed things up even more. It's a bit tougher than Takamoto, but not as satisfying. Lara takes his sword fragment, Zip and Alistair finally check back in, and we learn another woman has swooped in and is now heading to Kazakhstan to chase down the next piece. Ghana as a whole is pretty dope. The visuals are gorgeous with wide open exteriors and claustrophobic, trap-filled corridors. It feels like a proper tomb with puzzles that actually make you stop and think. The only drawback is that by this point it starts to feel a little too similar, like a remix of Bolivia and Peru. It's a strong chapter, but I think I'm ready for a change of scenery. By the way, if you enjoy deep dives like this one and want to help me keep making them, you can support the channel on Patreon or by becoming a YouTube member. It really helps me out and comes with a few extra perks like early access and voting privileges. Alright, back to the game. Kazakhstan changes the scenery completely. Snow, military compounds, and finally Lara wearing something that could actually keep a human being warm. The level starts on a snowy cliff overlooking a secret facility, and technically you're supposed to use your binoculars for recon. Realistically, most of us just swan dive straight into chaos. The sequence feels a little stiff. I'd almost prefer a cutscene, or dare I say it, a QTE. Lara lands on a rooftop turret, and you know what that means: mass murder time. This section leans heavily into combat and you clear out wave after wave of soldiers before rescuing 2 random troops who are apparently the only ones not trying to kill you.
Спасибо. How's your light team in your dachi?
Wow, so now we've heard her speak both Japanese and Russian. Lara, pratar du svenska?
No.
Fan!
The soldiers tell her the gate code and the game suddenly morphs into Donkey Kong Arctic Assault. Lara needs to catch a train, but she's too late. Until fate conveniently provides another motorcycle sitting nearby. This sparks the final motorcycle chase of the game, and it's a wild one. It's similar to Peru's chase, but this time you're pursuing a moving train through snow-covered canyons. Enemies now show up in jeeps, and the rule here is simple: kill everyone or the level just loops forever. The sequence mixes long stretches of shooting with short stunt breaks. Though it runs a bit long, it does start to feel repetitive. Still, there's a thrill to it, racing alongside the train, blasting through convoys until Lara ends up on the train itself. Cue some very expensive jacket damage, another QTE, and she crashes into a secret lab. Inside, everything's on fire, but somehow there's no urgency. Lara just calmly grapples machinery, swings across ropes, and escapes through what might be the least secure ventilation system in gaming history. The following slope section, where you dodge live wires, feels oddly stiff, like she suddenly forgot she's an acrobat. In the generator room you restore power, which unlocks a hallway filled with toxic green gas that should be avoided. I said it should be avoided, Lara. Sparks too, but they're no problem. Amanda makes her grand entrance here.
Damn it, Lara, I'm busy.
Leave me alone, I'm busy.
This is where you find the Tesla gun, a big reminder that realism has officially left the chat. Needs more juice.
Careful, Lara.
Ooh, what did I say earlier? The sparks aren't a problem? Don't rush it like me. Next up, you need to get a power core in a cage to the end of the tracks. First you pull a lever, which is a rare thing in this game, and then you use your grapple to move it along the tracks. It shoves obstacles aside as it moves, and while the dangling electrical sockets overhead look terrifying, timing your way through isn't too bad. Slot the core into place, and Lara finds a shield that may or may not have belonged to Lancelot. The Tesla gun roars to life. You can grab explosive barrels with it, float them dramatically into the air, and hurl them at soldiers like some kind of archaeologist Sith Lord. It's ridiculous, and I love it. How to get the gold. Easily the hardest one for me. You need to grab a hanging platform with a Tesla gun and swing it all the way to the right. It only works if you keep firing little bursts to build momentum. Once it's in place, pull some wall boxes out, climb onto the platform, jump across to the next ledge and swing onto the bar to reach the gold reward. It's fiddly but deeply satisfying when you finally pull it off. The final stretch pushes things further with sliding ledges and more sparkling pipes. And then it's boss time again. This isn't just another mercenary or mobster. It's that thing from Lara's past. The monster from the Amanda flashback. You can't kill it outright. The fight is more about survival and puzzle solving. First, activate 4 circuit breakers scattered around the arena while avoiding the monster's attacks. Once they're alive, hop onto the Tesla gun and fire energy into electrodes until they connect with the cones in the wall. Connect all 4 and the shield protecting the sword fragment above drops for a short while. Grapple it and the battle's over. Sounds simple, except the monster keeps lunging at you and kicking you off the gun like it's trying to apply for WWE. But you can stun it briefly with Tesla blasts.
The first time I played this fight, I had no idea what I was doing.
Now it's simple once you know the trick. Lara walks away with another sword fragment, and Alice's research back home points her to her next destination, Cornwall, England.
As in, take the M5 to the A30 core.
Kazakhstan is an odd one. It's not bad at all, in fact, it's a strong level, but it's also my least favorite so far. Ambitious, but it overstays its welcome. The combat-heavy structure and repeated hazards start to blur together toward the end. Still, the snowy atmosphere, the Tesla gun, and that monstrous boss encounter give it a unique identity. It's a level that tries to do everything at once, and even if it doesn't nail all of it, it's hard not to admire the effort.
I really hope Cornwall doesn't have a subway.
The England chapter takes place in a dusty, abandoned King Arthur museum.
As a teenager, I thought this was the hardest stage in the game, so I'm curious to see how it holds up today.
The museum itself is drenched in atmosphere. It's full of silly little touches too, like pulling swords out of stone to open doors or poking around old exhibits.
So that there would be no squabbling betwixt the knights.
A little absurd, sure, but I like it. Imagine actual guests trying to do all this just to learn about Arthurian legend. Then comes the forklift, and I'm sorry to report that it controls horribly. It wobbles around like Lara just downed a few Bloody Marys before a shift. Thankfully, you only need to lift 1 crate to grab a silver reward. To actually progress, you just smash the thing through walls like a professional archaeologist. Spear traps are no match for me. Oh crap, Lara, careful!
To be fair, there was no stop sign.
After working your way down, the level wastes no time throwing more traps at you. Naturally, whenever Lara needs a block or cage to survive, one is just conveniently lying around. This time though, you'll need it for more than survival. How to get the gold? Push the cage past the spinning blades and climb up to the left. Shove the wall marked with Roman numeral 1. Move the cage to the opposite side and push 2. Drop down, push the cage through another blade gauntlet and head back past the flames until you reach 3. Push it, a secret door opens, and there's your gold reward. Later, you hit a pressure pad door puzzle. Using the grapple, you swing a chandelier into some bars, freeing a coffin. Morbid? Yes. But it's the counterweight you need. I love how creative the game gets with the grapple here. And speaking of morbidly clever ideas, there's a flooded labyrinth where you literally use a floating coffin as a raft. It's dark, but practical. The real show stealer, though, is the subterranean lake with a massive tomb. The scale of this area is incredible. Getting inside is a puzzle in itself. One of the crypts can be pulled, and if you zoom in with the binoculars, you'll spot crystal dynamics etched into it.
What does it mean?
From there, it's chandelier swinging, bell raising, and finally another fragment of Excalibur is in your hands. Time to celebrate? Not quite. Cue the serpent boss fight. Back in the day, this was the only part that completely stumped me, and honestly, even now it's more patience than fun. Shooting at it is useless. Instead, ring bells to distract the serpent, then grapple a lever to drop a metal cage onto its head. Do this 4 times and it's over. Sounds simple, but the serpent's attack pack a punch, and half the frustration is just Lara refusing to aim the grapple where she should. Come on Lara, you had one job! The whole fight can get irritating since it's so dependent on waiting around, but at least it looks cool. Afterward, you climb out of the pit using the serpent's corpse. Seems it wasn't dead after all, but nothing a QTE couldn't handle. Then it's the long trek back through the level, now conveniently repopulated with violent people. What would Zip and Alistair do without Hulk Lara? All said and done, I ended up liking England way more than I used to. It might be the only level in Legend with some genuine challenge. Sure, the forklift is janky and the serpent fight overstays its welcome, but the atmosphere, puzzles and crypt sequence carry it. When it comes to England levels in the Tomb Raider franchise, aside from the manor, this one easily takes the crown. Oh, and with all that adventuring done, my pistols are now fully upgraded with increased damage. Back home, Lara checks in with her crew.
While I was in Ghana, I asked you to look around for the Galali key. No luck, I take it?
No, none of it appears in any of the literature.
Lara draws her own conclusion. The Galali key must be in Nepal, the same place she lost her mother all those years ago.
The wreckage should be just on the other side.
I can't see anything. You sure you're in the right spot?
I never forget a face.
Me neither.
Another snow level, but this one immediately hits different. The air is crisp, the view jaw-dropping, the intro climb is calm and quiet. Where do I go from here?
Don't tell me it's the icicles.
Girl, how are you holding on to these? A few minutes later, she finds the plane wreck from her childhood flashback. Talk about coming full circle. Of course, Lara's way of coping with trauma involves shooting snow leopards. If you sprint straight into the plane, it tips over like a drunk uncle at Christmas, so maybe don't do that. Instead, drag some debris onto the ledge to stabilize it. Once it's safe, she grabs the Galali key, but because this is Legend, she can't just pick it up and leave. Cue another flashy QTE escape sequence complete with collapsing wreckage and acrobatics that will make Cirque du Soleil jealous. After one of those slightly awkward slope slides, Lara enters an ice cave and wow, it's gorgeous. Light bouncing off frozen walls, the subtle echo of every step. This might be one of the most beautiful areas in the entire game. Whoa, steady Lara. Jump! After that balancing act, don't jump to the obvious ledge.
How to get the gold?
Drop down from the opposite side instead, follow the lower path to the left, and ta-da! The final gold reward, and ironically, the easiest one to find. Outside you're greeted by a few mercenaries who didn't get the memo that Lara's basically unstoppable by this point. Soon after, she enters a cave with a freezing pool, and I mean freezing. Touch the water and your health evaporates faster than your optimism and the Angel of Darkness. You have to leap between floating ice blocks, taking your time and trying not to imagine how cold that water must be. Inside the monastery, it took me a moment to notice the grapple points hidden up in the ceiling. The following puzzle involves using a scale to get a golden block onto a pressure pad perched on a high ledge. Finally, Excalibur reassembles itself. Lara places it into the ancient pedestal and nothing. Except now you've got a shiny new toy. And yes, you can absolutely use it as a weapon. Take that, door. Naturally, everything starts collapsing seconds later because no TR level can end without an earthquake. With my impeccable platforming skills and Lara's slightly magnetic hands, she makes it out alive and unscathed. Nepal is easily one of the briefest stages in the game, but what it lacks in length, it makes up for in atmosphere and pacing. There's less combat, more climbing, more puzzles, and that's exactly the balance I love. It's a beautiful, icy breather before the finale, and for me, it's another standout chapter. We're back in Bolivia, right where it all began, and Lara's done playing nice. No more chit-chat, no more exposition. She basically tells Zip and Alistair to STFU over comms and storms straight toward Amanda and Rutland. It's time for closure and a little divine annihilation. Armed with Excalibur, Lara's a walking apocalypse. It's hilariously overpowered. You press the trigger and watch everything around you disintegrate. Enemies, pillars, probably someone's Wi-Fi signal. Even goons hiding behind cover get vaporized. mesmerized. After about 30 seconds, Rutland goes down like it's nothing and Amanda absolutely loses it. In a fit of villainous frustration, she summons that weird creature. Only this time, it fuses with her. The result is some kind of unholy Amanda beast hybrid that serves as your final boss. I remember this fight being fairly easy back in the day. What just happened? Anyway, blast it with Excalibur, dodge its charges, and when it collapses, run in and stab it. Do that 4 times and you're done.
Well, I would be done if the game didn't start gaslighting me.
Everything's fine 1 second and the next, dead. Out of nowhere. No visible hit, just gone. I don't remember this happening on PS2, but on PS3, it's like the creature picked up ghost damage as a hobby. Like here, why did I get hurt? It got to a point where I was seriously questioning if there was a glitch or something. I tried and tried, dying to phantom hits that made no sense until after 30 minutes of frustration, I rage quit, walked away, came back later, booted it up, tried again, and beat it instantly.
What changed? Was it really a glitch? Why was it so easy after reloading?
Who knows, but it left me more confused than satisfied. A decent boss fight cursed by mysterious forces. Once the creature is down for good, Lara snatches Amanda's amulet and returns Excalibur to its rightful place in the stone. The portal activates and finally, after all these years, Lara gets to confront the source of her obsession.
Mother! Mother, listen to me!
It'll explode unless you pull out the sword! Oh God! No! I told you to pull out the sword. I told you! Where is my mother? Avalon!
It's an iconic moment, one of the few times we see Lara's perfectly composed exterior completely crack. She's not the cool adventurer here, she's just a daughter desperate for answers. It's raw in a way this series rarely allowed her to be up to this point. The game ends on a promise that this was just the beginning of something much bigger. And in a way, it really was. This finale ties the whole adventure together with intensity, emotion, and a glimpse at a more personal Lara Croft.
Tell him my father was right about everything. And there may still be time to do something about it.
By beating the game and collecting every relic, we've unlocked a treasure trove of goodies in the extras menu. You can rewatch every cinematic, browse through character bios, admire location concepts, and even spin 3D object models. But the crown jewel here is the Unfortunate Mishaps video, a glorious compilation of Lara's most dramatic deaths. Beating the campaign also unlocks cheat codes, though at first only one is available. And yes, we also get plenty of new outfits, but not all of them, not yet.
So how do you get the rest of the costumes and cheats?
Enter Tomb Raider's first ever time trial mode. The premise is simple. Beat each level under a set time limit and you'll unlock the missing rewards. I started with Bolivia Redux since it's the shortest stage, and thankfully, this time everything worked flawlessly, further proving that something was really off during my earlier boss fight. Vindication feels good. The best part about time trials? You can use cheats. The first one I unlocked was one-shot kill. The codes are entered during gameplay, and when you get it right, the game rewards you with a satisfying little chime. Basically a digital pat on the back for breaking its balance. Naturally, I couldn't resist. So I played the next stages fully loaded with cheats because I could. Everything went smoothly until England. For reasons beyond human comprehension, the forklift decided it didn't want to participate. It refused to raise the fork, effectively soft-locking me behind a gate.
This happened 3 times.
I think it bugged out whenever I lowered it too far, because on the 4th try I didn't, and magically it worked again.
What a colossal waste of time.
The rest of the time trials went smoothly, especially with cheats like Bulletproof active. By the end, I'd unlocked every outfit and every cheat, including the glorious Soul Reaver from the Legacy of Kain series. The outfit selection in Legend is top tier. We've got Goth Lara, which looks like she just walked out of an Evanescence video, and you can even play as Amanda, which feels oddly poetic. The 2 swimsuit variants are exclusive to Croft Manor, but that's fine. It's nice to have somewhere peaceful to wear them. Just Lara, a pool, and the faint hum of luxury. Just out of curiosity, I decided to make a quick return to the PS2 version, and honestly, it was like stepping back into 2006. Within minutes, I was right back in the groove. The controls are still sharp, the pacing feels identical, and that classic PS2 vibe is impossible to replicate. Sure, it's not HD. The textures are blurrier, the lighting's flatter, and everything has that faint fuzzy halo look that defined mid-2000s console graphics. But I don't mind one bit. I've always believed that a good game shines through its resolution. There's something comforting about those slightly rough edges. It feels authentic, like popping in the disc after school and getting lost in something that didn't need to be 4K to be magical. What really impressed me was how well Legend still runs on the hardware. The atmosphere is still there, the cutscenes are intact, and the frame rate, while not perfect, holds down remarkably well. You can tell Crystal Dynamics understood the PS2 inside out and squeezed every drop of performance out of it.
It's a great reminder that you don't always need a remaster to appreciate a classic.
Sometimes a little nostalgia and a clunky memory card save are all you need to remember why you fell in love with a game in the first place. Now the PSP version, that's one I'd never played before. And honestly, color me impressed. For a handheld game from 06, Legend looks shockingly good. The models are sharp and it captures the look of the console versions well. From what I can tell, it's basically identical to the other ports in terms of level design and story. But there's one major caveat: the controls. The PSP only had one analog stick and two shoulder buttons, which already sounds like a cruel joke for a game built around camera control. It takes some getting used to. Moving Lara feels fine, it's the camera that fights back. Still, I've seen worse handheld adaptations. The loading screens though... yeah, those look awful. Like Tomb Raider on Game Boy Color awful.
So why play this version at all? Well, it does have something unique.
An exclusive mode called Tomb Trials. You can play these solo or head-to-head via local wireless.
But, well, I'm all by myself today. G-Dog.
There are two game types. First up, Master System, and no, not the Sega console. You're given 11 short stages filled with traps and a timer breathing down your neck. The layout changes slightly after the opening section, which sounds cool, but the camera has other plans. It tilts at odd angles, sometimes pointing down so far you can't see where you're landing. I tried all of them once and only managed to win a few, which felt like the game's way of telling me to stop. You unlock custom backgrounds if you win, but let's be honest, nobody's booting this up for wallpapers. The second mode, Treasure Hunt, is way better. You search for collectibles within chunks of existing levels before the timer runs out. It's simple, fast-paced, and surprisingly addictive. You can even unlock exclusive outfits not found in any other version. A neat little bonus for the wardrobe enthusiasts out there.
In multiplayer, there's also a mode called Raid and Seek, which I sadly couldn't try. Turns out not a lot of people are queuing up for PSP multiplayer in 2025. Shocking, I know.
So is the PSP version worth it if you already own Legend elsewhere? Not really. It's a solid technical achievement and a cool curiosity, but the camera and controls make it hard to love after playing on console. The exclusive content is a fun novelty, but not essential. Still, for Tomb Raider collectors or PSP diehards, it's a fascinating little time capsule, proof that even on a handheld, Lara Croft refuses to do anything halfway.
You know it and you love it. Let's talk about the music and sound.
One of the biggest shifts in Legend is in its voice department, and it's immediately clear how much of a difference it makes. Keeley Hawes makes her debut as Lara Croft here, and I've got to say, she nails the blend of aristocratic cool and adventurous warmth. She's confident, dryly witty, but also capable of sounding genuinely vulnerable when the story calls for it. Her voice feels modern, and it set the tone for her long run as the character across multiple titles.
Don't take any chances. I'm not losing any more of my friends.
The supporting cast is strong too. Zip with his constant wisecracks, Alistair with his bookish exasperation, and Amanda's bitterness drips through with every word.
It'll explode unless you pull out the sword!
Even Winston feels less like a doddering caricature and more like an actual presence in Lara's world.
Will your hand luggage require emptying or filling?
They all pull their weight and bring personality to characters who could have been forgettable exposition machines. The sound effects and ambient audio also deserve a lot of credit. Every pistol shot, grenade blast, and collapsing stone has a real punch to it. Gunfire echoes differently depending on the environment, and the detail in things like crunching snow under Lara's boots or dripping water in caverns really helps sell the locations. Even small touches like the hum of neon in Japan or the rush of wind near a mountain cliff build that sense of immersion. Where Core often leaned into eerie silence and sparse cues, Legend is constantly layering sound to keep you in the moment.
And then there's the music, which is where Legend really distinguishes itself.
Troels Folman composed the score, and his approach was very different from Nathan McCree's classic soundtracks for the early games. The music swells with orchestral energy, mixing in exotic instruments to give each location its own flavor. Bolivia sounds lush and mystical, Japan pulses with urban tension, Ghana radiates grandeur and adventure. On On top of that, Folman introduced a dynamic micro-scoring system, meaning the soundtrack constantly shifts based on what's happening. Exploration themes flow into combat bursts and back into quiet ambience seamlessly. It's like the music is breathing alongside the action, always adapting to what you're doing. The result is a soundtrack that feels alive and global, exactly what Crystal Dynamics wanted as they reimagined Lara for a new era. It's a different philosophy than Core's silence and solitude approach, but it works beautifully. Where McCree's music was about mystery and restraint, Folman is about movement and momentum. Yet beneath all the orchestration, you can still hear faint echoes of the classic Tomb Raider DNA. Those haunting 4 notes woven subtly into the mix, like an ancient melody reborn. Overall, Legend's audio design is a perfect example of how a franchise can reinvent its sound without losing its soul. Great performances, punchy effects, and a score that's equal parts nostalgia and new energy. It all clicks.
As usual, I've picked out my favorites, so here are my top 5 songs from Tomb Raider Legend.
Number 5. In the Tokyo party sequence, we're greeted by a track that just oozes style. Sleek electronic beats mix with delicate Eastern tones to create a sound that's as smooth and expansive as the champagne in the background. It's mysterious and ever so slightly dangerous. The perfect musical backdrop for a high society gathering that's about to descend into chaos. Sophisticated, cool, and dripping with attitude. Just like Lara in that dress. Number 4. The mission summary has that sharp, triumphant energy that perfectly captures the feeling of finishing a level and catching your breath. The musical equivalent of wiping the dust off your hands after a job well done. The percussion drives it forward while the strings give it a real sense of momentum. Number 3. If home had a soundtrack, this would be it. Croft Manor's theme wraps you in warmth and quiet sophistication. Gentle piano, soft strings, and a sense of calm that feels like stepping back into safety after a long expedition. It's elegant without being showy, cozy without being dull. A reminder that for all the explosions and ancient death traps, Lara's world also has moments of peace. Number 2. The main theme is the heart and soul of Legend. It takes Nathan McCree's iconic 4-note motif and reimagines it through a sweeping cinematic lens. Full orchestra, soaring choir, and subtle touches of world music that give it a global identity. It's equal parts nostalgic and modern, a perfect balance between honoring the past and pushing forward. Number 1. The bike ride track opens with a steady rhythm that immediately pulls you in. Not frantic or explosive, but deliberate and focused. An hypnotic fusion of tribal drums, airy percussion, and soaring female vocals that give the whole track an otherworldly feel. The chanting blends perfectly with the Andean pan flutes, giving it a sense of place, painting a vivid picture of vast landscapes and ancient ruins rushing by. It's atmospheric and quietly intense, a perfect musical reflection of Lara's determination and the thrill of the chase.
Let's wrap this up.
When Tomb Raider Legend launched in 2006, it didn't just revive a franchise, it revived me as a fan. After Angel of Darkness, Lara felt like a memory I was protecting out of loyalty more than joy. Legend reminded me what it felt like to be genuinely excited about the series again. It was like seeing a long-lost friend who suddenly walks in with renewed energy and confidence, ready to show you she's still got it, and maybe even better than before. What Crystal Dynamics pulled off here can't be overstated. understated. They didn't just update the graphics or smooth the controls, they redefined what Tomb Raider could be. The pacing, the polish, it all felt so fresh and yet unmistakably Tomb Raider. Lara doesn't wrestle with the controls anymore, she flows. The responsiveness is so good that simply moving around feels satisfying. Jumping, shimmying, swimming, it all connects seamlessly, and for the first time in years, the game isn't fighting you, you're in sync with it.
Some longtime players weren't as convinced by the magnetic platforming, and I get it. It's less about precision and more about flow.
There's a sense that the game is giving you a helping hand, literally pulling Lara towards ledges and poles, instead of letting you miss them by a millimeter. For purists, it can feel like the challenge has been dialed down. Personally though, I don't mind it at all. After 6 core design games of pixel-perfect leaps and tank controls, I was ready for something new, and this was exactly what I wanted at the time. It's fast, fluid, and fun. I'll gladly take that over fighting the controls in AOD. Combat also gets a pretty major overhaul in the Legend era. The gunplay feels a lot snappier, less rigid. You've got more acrobatic freedom during fights, aiming is easier, and everything moves at a faster pace. The weapon variety is a bit bare bones, nothing really stands out, but the restriction to carrying just 2 firearms at a time is definitely more grounded and it fits the tone Legend is going for. Still, part of me does miss the absurd joy of rocket launchers and explosive arrows. Maybe that's just me. Every level brought its own personality, its own sense of rhythm, and somehow it all fits together. It wasn't trying to imitate the past, it was standing proudly on its own. The physics-based puzzles were a revelation at the time. No more sliding giant stone blocks across flat floors for half an hour. Here, puzzles actually move and react. You push, pull, balance, and manipulate the environment in clever ways that feel tactile and natural. When you drop a rock on a seesaw or redirect flowing water to power ancient machinery, you're not just solving logic problems, you're interacting with the world. And what a world it is. Even today, Legend is gorgeous. Each location bursts with personality, from the misty cliffs of Bolivia to the neon skyline of Tokyo, the lush temples of Ghana, and the frozen peaks of Nepal. Every level feels like a globe-trotting adventure movie, complete with cinematic camera angles and breathtaking backdrops. The waterfalls shimmer, the lighting breathes, the atmosphere pulls you in. It was the first time in years that a Tomb Raider made me stop mid-level just to look at where I was. What really stuck with me though was the tone. Lara feels more grounded here, still confident and witty, but with a new layer of humanity thanks to Keeley Hawes' performance. She can sound composed one moment and genuinely emotional the next without ever losing that signature Croft poise. The story gives her a personal motivation that adds extra weight to the adventure. She's still the same fearless explorer we knew before, but now there's a sense of vulnerability beneath the surface. It doesn't replace what came before, it simply adds another dimension to who Lara Croft is. And then there's the audio presentation. The sound design, the music, the sense of momentum, it all works together in a way that feels effortless. Form and soundtrack elevated all of it. The music doesn't just sit in the background, it moves with the gameplay. The shifting melodies, the way the music breathes with the action, it gives every moment weight. Even now, one note of that score instantly teleports me back to 2006, when this felt like the most stylish game on earth. I mean, I had the Peru bike ride track on MP3 back then, for crying out loud. Of course, no game's perfect. Zip and Alistair's constant banter is fun once, but on replay it's like having 2 podcast hosts trapped in your earpiece. Sometimes I just want to hear the wind in the ruins without commentary about it.
This must be where Santa's evil brother lives.
The QTEs, meanwhile, are easy targets. They're not bad per se, just unnecessary and feel like a relic of their own era. Quick, flashy, and ultimately forgettable. Then there are those moments where the game decides to make you sprint forward while the camera refuses to cooperate. You know the ones. It's clumsy, it breaks the flow, and it's the one part that didn't get the same level of polish as the rest. Another annoyance, you can't skip every cutscene, which becomes especially irritating during time trials when all you want is another attempt without sitting through dialogue you've already memorized. And yeah, the bugs. There were a few moments in this HD version that really pushed my patience. Soft locks and the final boss glitch that made me question whether Amanda herself was haunting my console. They don't ruin the experience, but they do stick out in a game that otherwise feels so refined. And while we're at it, the game is extremely linear and simple. There's not much room to explore or wander off the beaten path. If you love Tomb Raider for its sense of discovery and wide open exploration, Legend might not scratch that itch. It's a focused cinematic ride from start to finish, and while I personally enjoy that, it's it's something that might not click for everyone.
Also, Legend is short. Shockingly short.
You can finish it in under 4 hours, and every time I replay it, I wish there were just 1 or 2 more levels. On the other hand, I'd rather have a tight, replayable adventure than a bloated one that drags. Still, those flaws can't overshadow what Legend achieves. Coming back to it today, I'm honestly impressed by how well it still holds up. Sure, a few quirks show its age, but the design, pacing, and atmosphere remain spot on. You can tell Crystal Dynamics poured everything they had into making sure Lara's rebirth didn't just meet expectations, it shattered them. In my ranking of the Tomb Raider games I've reviewed so far, it proudly earns the bronze medal. Higher than I expected, but completely deserved. For me, Legend is the bridge between eras, carrying the adventurous heart of the core design games into a new age with style and precision. Without Legend, Lara might have stayed buried in the early 2000s limbo. Oh, and before anyone asks, no, I didn't play the PS5 version. From what I've seen, it's basically a half-hearted PS2 port in disguise, and that's not how Legend deserves to be remembered.
Nearly 20 years later, it's one of the most effortlessly playable Tomb Raider games ever made. It made Lara Croft human again. It made Tomb Raider exciting again. And it made me believe again.
Hey everyone, this is GFrom. Thank you so much for watching episode 13 of season 5. Feel free to rate, comment, subscribe, and follow me on social media. You can also support me on Patreon or become a YouTube member if you like. I'll see you later. Have a nice day.